Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching the Technique of the Month from Digital Photo Magazine. This month I'm going to show you how to take an ordinary photograph and turn it into a pencil sketch. So I've got a picture on screen here and we're ready to start. So let's start by taking away the colour from this image and making it a black and white picture. So we're going to go to Enhance, Adjust Colour and then Remove Colour, or you can use the keyboard shortcut Shift, Control and U. Okay, so we now have a black and white picture. Now I need a copy of this black and white picture, so come up to Layer, choose Duplicate Layer. Now you can give this a new name if you like, and I recommend that. So we're going to call this one Sketch, because that's what we're going to do to this layer. And that's it. So we made a new layer, but we can't actually see what we've got. So let's go to Window and choose Layers so we can see the Layers palette on screen. Now you'll see we've got two layers here. The one we've just created called Sketch, and the one underneath, which is the original background layer. Now it's that background that we need to be working on just at the moment. So make sure you click the background and that will now become highlighted, and that's the layer we're now going to affect. The effect we're going to put on is to apply a filter to try and make the little sort of thin pencil lines that you'd find in a pencil sketch. So let's go to Filter, choose Sketch, that sounds quite promising, and then right at the bottom of the list we're going to go with Water Paper. Now the settings we're going to apply in here seem to work very well for this picture and frankly quite a lot of other ones, but don't take these as absolute gospel. Feel free to change some of these settings if you like, but here's the ones I use. Let's start with the fibre length. I'm going to put that around about the centre, so about 25. The brightness I'm going to bring up a little bit higher, up to about 85. And the contrast I'm going to increase to about 75. So the effect I'm trying to look for here is an effect where I can see the individual strokes, and I've got a nice area of white behind the picture. I'm just going to zoom out a few clicks just so you can see the effect over the whole picture area, like so. So it looks a little bit washed out, but that's absolutely fine. Just click OK. Now our main picture didn't seem to change, but don't worry, we have applied the change. It's just applied it to the background layer, and that's currently being covered by the sketch layer. So let's click on that sketch layer and apply a filter to that too. Come up to Filter, choose Stylize, and then Glowing Edges. This is a great fun filter. This will take your normal picture and try and find any edges and give it this sort of glowing effect. But bizarrely, it makes it an inverted image at the same time. So don't worry, we'll fix that bit in a minute. Let's have a look at the settings we're going to use here. The edge width defines how big your glowing edges are going to be. Now I actually want them quite small, like nice little thin lines. So I'm going to put my edge width down to 2. The edge brightness defines how bright they're going to be, and we're going to push that all the way up to the maximum of 20, and the smoothness will just smooth off some of those lines, so we'll push that up to the maximum of 15 and click OK. Right, that's applied the filter and we can definitely see it this time, but it's definitely inverted, and that's not what we want. So to bring that back so the blacks become white and the whites become black, we're going to use a neat little keyboard shortcut. Down to the keyboard, press Control and I, and that'll invert the colours in your picture. Now that's looking quite nice, but we've got to blend these two layers together. And we're going to change the blend mode, which is currently set to normal. Click the little down list and choose something else. Now I'm going to go with multiply, but you may find on different pictures, perhaps overlay or hard light would also work well. But let's stick to multiply for now. And you can see straight away what that's done. It's filled in some of those really white patches. I also find the effect a little bit strong, so I'm just going to drop the opacity down, and that'll make our sketchy lines just a little bit softer. So about 50% tends to look pretty good. Okay, now that's looking not too bad at all, but have a good close look. Let's get the zoom tool, and we'll just zoom in on the eye area here. Now you can see the effect working nicely, especially on this eye. You've got that nice kind of sketchy look, and you can see one or two lines coming through, but you can also see some lines that perhaps you didn't want. There's some areas of skin tone here that have picked up a little kind of lining effect from the glowing edges. So to sort out any areas that perhaps don't look perfect, let's get a paintbrush and let's get white as our brush color. So I'm just going to hit the D on the keyboard to reset our colors, and then the X to swap it over so white becomes my foreground colour. Now that brush is a little bit on the big side, so I think we want to shrink that down a little bit, And what we're going to do is paint with a brush that's set with an opacity of about 50%. You don't have to do this, but if you paint with a lower opacity brush, it builds the effect up gradually, and that gives you the chance to control what's happening. If you do it all in one go at 100%, you may be happy with the result, but it can look a little bit too much too quick. I prefer just to blend these in with a little bit more gentleness, like that. So we'll just pick up a few lines, and we've got an area here on the eye, for example. There it's a little bit too strong, so let's just shrink the brush down wee bit smaller, and again we'll just paint that little line out just like that. Lovely. Perhaps a little bit across the top of the eye just to take that line away, and perhaps just a little bit around the edge of the cheeks here, just darken or lighten that area there. So you can spend a bit of time just coming in here and just lightening certain areas and darkening or leaving them alone if they are fine. Now I'm happy with that. I'm looking at that now and I'm thinking that's looking okay. Now once you reach this point, you need to make a decision that can't be reversed, so make sure you are absolutely happy, then come up to layer and choose flatten image. So that collapses the two layers down into one. Now back to your colours. Remember we had it set to black and white and reversed it. Well, we need to reverse it back the other way, so hit D on the keyboard. So we now have white as our background colour because we're going to add more background to this picture. Let's come up to image, resize and canvas size, and we're going to increase the canvas size. Let's type in here some numbers: 35 centimeters in width, 50 centimeters in height. Click OK, and now you have more background, and of course it is white because that's what we asked it to be. Now I don't like these very hard edges along the edge of the picture, so I'm going to get another paintbrush, and I'm going to reset my colour to white as my foreground. Remember to hit X on the keyboard just to swap it over like that. And I'm going to remember the bit, I always forget this bit, the opacity. I must put the opacity back up to 100%, otherwise it doesn't work so well. And then we'll get a nice big paintbrush, and we'll just paint around the edges. All we're trying to do here is just knock off those really hard edge lines and make this look more like a pencil sketch than a photograph. And I think that's looking pretty good. Around we go. Brilliant. Okay, so there we go. There's our pencil sketch looking more or less finished. Now the only thing I would say is sometimes it can look a little bit washed out, and if that's the case, come up to enhance, adjust lighting and levels, and just bring your levels in just a touch, just like that. And there you are. So now we've taken a perfectly normal picture and turned it into a beautiful pencil sketch.